Well, g'day, and welcome to another episode of Lanark County Confidential, brought to you on the WRVO Radio Network, a division of Reno Viola Outdoors. I'm your host, Michael H. Staunton, and this is episode 8. Wow, getting up there. I think this is episode 8. Hopefully it is. Anyways, what's this episode going to be about? And this is all about fishing. Actually, no, this is going to be episode 9, isn't it? Let's see here. This is going to be all about, this is episode 9, so sorry for that. This is called Shallow or Deep. I have this discussion with argument, whatever you want to call it, with some anglers, especially when I've done tournaments, as to what was the pattern today. Was it shallow? Was it deep? Or whether I look at it as, was there really a pattern to begin with? Anyways, I'm gonna. This all leads to what my personal philosophy is on this shallow versus deep issue, if you want to call it an issue, or some people want to. It all started years ago when I guess when I started doing tournaments, because when I first started fishing when I was younger, I pretty much fished deep. I fished off the docks a few times, but when we went, I learned how to fish walleye when I was probably about 10 or 12 years old. Between 10 and 12 years old. But in the meantime, I was fishing from shoreline, or I was fishing off a dock. So, I was always fishing in 8 to 10 feet of water, at least anyway. So I never fished from the 5 foot. I very rarely fished from, because I was fishing from a dock, is what I'm getting at. And then when I didn't fish from a dock, I was fishing from a boat. So I always fished deeper than, say, 3 foot of water. So then I started doing tournaments. And in tournaments, we were fishing always for largemouth. And it just so happened that we never got out of, I would say, pretty much the 6 years of the tournament fishing that I did, 7 years of tournament fishing I did. Come on. Anyways, I don't think I did spend much time outside of 10 feet of water, or 3 feet of water, sorry. So I'm trying to do 2 things here at once. So anyways, I go fish tournaments, and we did okay. I mean, we weren't hugely successful, but we made a couple of classics. In one classic, we finished in the top 10. So, 65 boats, and back then that was Renegade Bass, and there were some very good anglers at that point in time. There still are. I mean, I'm not saying that there aren't any good anglers there anymore, but there were good anglers back then, and we could hold our own. But what I started to learn in the last few years was that there was a whole slew of guys that were going out and fishing in 5 to 25 feet of water at times as well, too. So I started to have to realize that there's a deep water bite at times, and sometimes you have to know how to fish that in order to be successful, especially if you're fishing a tournament. So then I decided at one point in time, it's just through sponsorship and the marine dealer that I was working through, I got sponsorship. I got sponsored a bass boat, as long as I sold them at the end of the year. And basically, that's what I did. Every year I got a bass boat. I started off with Prince Crafts, and then I went into Hydro Sports. And so the first 3 years, it's for 4 years actually. That's what 4 years worth of boat sponsorship. And the Prince Craft, that was a learning curve. I didn't have I was fishing with my girlfriend at the time, or fishing by myself. I did some Bassmasters, and I did a couple of Renegades back then. They were just walk-on, so you could pick and choose whichever one you wanted. And being the boat that it wasn't really suited for big, rough water and stuff, so I was limited to what I could fish. But I did a White Lake, and optimistically, I did a Charleston Lake, and that was a big mistake. Prior to that, I'd already been in another marina, and we had done pro crafts. So I'd already done a couple of years in Ottawa bass, and then I did, my first tournament was we'll probably do that one show. It was pretty cool. Well, I'll do a show just on tournaments type thing and what I think about them. Back in the late 80s, and we finished mid-pack out of the first tournament, so that was pretty good. It was all sheer luck, basically. So, anyways, to go to the 1990s, and I have now my own boat, my own ability to do my own pre-fishing and stuff like that, and I start to explore deeper water. Get better electronics as well too, because I remember one tournament I asked my partner, I said, where's our graph up front? Because we were doing the Ottawa River, and I was seeing some fish break out deeper in about 8-10 feet of water, so I just wanted to go out there and see if there's some weeds out there, or what they were relating to. And he says, I had to give it back. And I said, and this is about my third year going, and I said, and it had been there for 3 years, and we had won money. Like I was giving all my entry fee money back, or all my prize money back to my boss, because he was sponsoring me as far as entry fees, and then I'd pay him back until I paid my entry fee back, and then I pocket the rest. So we a couple of years we make $400 or $500 a piece at least, anyways. So he said, I had to give it back. So at that point I knew I don't think I'm ever going to go fish deep with this guy. So and I thought to myself, in order for me to get better, I had to fish with somebody better than me. So I started looking around and trying to not break teams up, but trying to get into fishing with this guy or that guy. It's really hard to do. So but anyways, once I had my own boat, I could do my own exploring, I could do my own theories, base it on whether I knew what I was talking about. And then I started fishing walleyes again, and then a lot of times walleyes, as the season goes, they're deeper, so you have to learn how to fish structure. And so I learned how to read my graphs, and especially read maps and stuff. So everything progressed, and I still, obviously, in the back of my head, had this theory that no matter what, there's always, or there can be a better deep bite than a better shallow bite. Anyways, so let's go another step forward, and just to do the deep thing again. We go to when I was fishing Renegade, we went to a lake, Newborough, and I did 3 days of pre-fishing. I talked to another number of the guides, and they're all telling me, so it basically gave me a certain depth to start looking for fish to target. And so we had, this is one of these things where you did a really good pre-fish. You've got 2 fish in the live well by noontime, and you've got like 3 pounds. And then by 2:30, you've got 15 pounds in the live well, because at 2 o'clock, all of a sudden, you hit a school of smallmouth, and it was just like boom, 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 one after another, and we came in 8th out of 85 boats that day. So that was a really good day. But that took 3 days of that was our second spot as well too. We only had 2 spots on this one lake. So, but that was it. Anyway, so. And this typically, that Newborough ends up being a deep bite until some people can figure out a shallow bite. and I'm not saying that you can't, but sometimes it's more consistent just to go deep sometimes. But anyways, we'll get to that. So I go fishing with this one guy named Ernie Jendurko, and I'll tell you that story another time. And he just opened me up to what a deep weed line bite can be. I started getting better electronics. I started investing in better rods. I found Picasso jigs, which first I did Pro Lines, which was a nice jig, and then I found Picasso's, which is an awesome jig, just to be able to go in and out of weeds. And the recessed head on that, the recessed hook, the eyelet for the hook on that jig is, I mean, you can toss it into a lot of wood and pull it out. Sometimes I've got jigs that are 10 years old because they've just, the skirt's done and the rattle's done, but I just keep rebuilding them, and it's the same jig. I've just knocked, that's how long the paint's stayed on some of them. That's basically when I throw them out, is when the paint's knocked off them. Or what I do is I cut the hook off them and I use them for practice jigs and stuff like that. So, but anyways, so I went fishing with Ernie one day, and he just opened me up. The guy could stop the boat, say, there's going to be a fish here. We'd pitch in, and boom, there'd be fish, sometimes two. On one occasion, three. So, but I'll tell you about that on another show. So to get going on this is I slowly just developed my ability to fish deep, so that when I thought that it was appropriate, I wouldn't keep beating the banks like a lot of guys do, and in a lot of bodies of water, that's sometimes what you have to do. But I like to try and find my own new spots, and I like to target smallmouth, and they have a tendency to be deeper. So because of that, I started to get the strategy about fishing deeper, and at times it was working well. I had success on Newborough with it twice, one in winning a tournament, and like I say, the other one in Renegade with the 8th place finish. So the win came in beat and Bass Anglers of Ottawa. So that's the club that I'm the president of. And so at that point, I'm thinking to myself, what is it about this deep thing that, and it just comes down to the philosophy, but just the fish go, and there's no, to me, there's no issue, there's no discussion about it. Fish do go shallow. I care. Shallow is also relative. I mean, on a lake like Mississippi, where it's, majority is like 10 foot, or the average is 10 foot, 8 to 10 foot. Deep is 12 foot maybe. So, but on a body of water like Newborough or say Indian, 10 foot isn't deep really. That's considered 0 to 10 feet is considered shallow. So on Mississippi, 0 to 3 feet is considered shallow. 10 feet, if 10 feet is it's average, 10 feet is mid depth then at that point. So if you're fishing shallow on Mississippi, then you're fishing 8 to 10 to 12 to 15 feet to 20 feet. So if you're fishing shallow on Newborough, you're fishing 0 to 10 feet. If you're fishing deep, you're fishing 25 to 35 feet sometimes. So it's all relative to the body of water. So at that point, we go, okay, when do I fish shallow and when do I fish deep? It's depending. Typically, first thing in the summertime, if you're looking for largemouth, you're going to be fishing shallow. And this leads to what I'm getting to is this whole shallow versus deep debate came down to me, it didn't come down to an issue, but it just came down to what I had to do in a tournament one day where my wife and I, 2 years ago, we were fishing our, I run Bass Anglers of Ottawa with another guy, and we 3 years ago did Team of the Year. Me and another angler made Team of the Year. So there's sort of a little bit of pressure of repeating it this next year, and I had no intentions of repeating it. I just figured that was, to me, there was it was a lot of consistency as far as our fishing went as a team, but there was a certain amount of luck there as well too. And for us to do it the next year, especially when I wasn't fishing with the same angler, I was fishing with my wife, and not tending to put that she was a hindrance to me, but she doesn't know the water, and she's not, she can't flip and stuff like that. So she's a bit limited as far as what I can. I give her 4 rods, and she does what she can with her 4 rods, which at times is really good. So at other times, well, we all know what happens when you go out with somebody who only fishes 4 or 5 times in the year, whereas opposed to somebody that goes and fishes 20, 30 times a year. So we start the season off under a certain amount of pressure. Well, I started under a certain amount of pressure. And first tournament, I targeted smallmouth in 8 to 10 foot of water. It didn't work out. I made a mistake. The guys that won, I know exactly where they were fishing, because that was my second thought, was to go up into this bay, because what I was doing was I was fishing for the smallmouth out in front of this bay on these rock shelves and stuff. And I was looking for the large, and I was going to go in the afternoon and fish the largemouths, but yeah, I decided. Anyways, so getting towards the end of the day, I got to pull another boat in. We weigh in. They had broken down, so about 15 minutes to go before we pull them in, just out of goodwill type thing. So we weigh in. We end up like 5th or 6th, whatever. And typically the guys that I thought that were going to win, Dave Western and his son, I figured they were going to win anyways, because they usually typically do good early in the season on a shallow bite, and they did. So the rest of it was pretty much, you sort of figured who was going to place this place and that place. So there was no real surprises at that point. So we go to the next tournament, and that was the Ottawa River, and typically don't do well at the Ottawa River. But I went with the other tournament organizer, Adam Piper, and we did well. We finished second, and we had second big fish. So that kept us up there. Next tournament was Muskrat Lake, and at this point there was sort of about 5 teams that you could see had a chance of keep going on, and we were still down there, and I thought, what the hell, I'm looking for the Classic. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to win the Classic that season because it was on Newborough, and I really like fishing Newborough, so there's some really big fish there. So I thought to myself, well, if we place well this year, great, but I'm not too going to get too worried about it. So we go to Mississippi, and I don't do well at Mississippi, and one of the top place teams doesn't do well at Mississippi as well too, so that shuffles everything around, and which it usually does. There's usually one tournament that sort of equalizes everything during the year. That's why it's nice to have 5 tournaments and stuff. And then going into the last tournament, the team that's been in first place the whole of the season is they've got a half a pound lead on second place, about a pound on third, and I think we were 2 pounds out, or 2.5 pounds out, and we were in fourth. So, I'm thinking 2.5 pounds out, we're going to Kilmarnock, which typically is 12 to 13 pounds because we only have a 4-fish limit. I know I can find 3. I know I can find an average of 3 pounds each fish, so I know that we can get 12 pounds. So I'm thinking, and I know there's a couple other teams that can do 12 pounds there as well too. So I'm thinking, we're gonna have to get 14 pounds to win this thing. And then there's the guys that were the team I was in first were sort of going back and forth with me. And we were, just the the camaraderie, the little, the nudge, or not the nudges, but the what do I call it? The friendly rivalry. That's what it is. Anyways, I get in these emails saying I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, whatever, we'll see. And I said I'm just going to base everything. I'm not going to get all bent out of shape here. I'm just going to base it all on my pre-fishing, and I limited myself to 2 days, 2 mornings actually pre-fishing, just like 5 hours from. Basically 6 o'clock in the morning till 11 o'clock, and that was it. I was getting off the water at 11 o'clock because I didn't want anybody else to see me. It was my wife. She was saying, we're 2.5 pounds out. She'd really like to win it. It's her first year going into a tournament series, and she was really enjoying herself. And she figured, it'd be cool to win Team of the Year a second time. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I don't know about this. So. But anyways, we go into the next tournament, or we're going into I'm out pre-fishing, and I've got 3 or 4 just areas that I want to key on. The thing about Kilmarnock is it's part of the Rideau Canal system. We haven't had water. We haven't had a lot of rain in the last couple of years. So the Rideau Canal being what it is, it has a watershed which has been getting lower and lower. So the last 2 years, it's been down, last year it was down, I'm talking 2011. So 2010, it was down about 3 or 4 inches. 2011, it was down easily 6 to 8 inches. Apparently it's come up now from what I've read, but anyway, so we're fishing it, and the 2010 I finished second, and I had this good pattern of running back and forth. I have a couple little spots that I figured I was going to be able to hit, and my pre-fishing I was just going to try and figure out whether that was still going to work out or not. And at the pre-fish I looked at the areas that I was going to run back and forth to, and that was it. They were toast. Didn't exist at all anymore. And so I had to figure something else out. So I just took some strategy from Kevin Van Dam and found some fish rather quickly doing one of his strategies. And so I was fairly confident I could find fish. And then I knew at that point if I could find them, I could make them bite. So I was confident we could get 10, possibly 12 pounds. 14, well, that was an outside shot, but I knew we could do well, and maybe we could finish in the top 2 or 3, whatever. To me, that was good enough. So now things what they be or whatever. Anyway, so that was the 2 weeks before the tournament, or it was 2 weeks before the tournament, or a week before the tournament. And then I figured I was taking the Thursday morning and going pre-fishing as well too. Things happen in life that we don't expect and everything like that. And anyways, life happens. In between tournaments, the best man at my wedding died of a heart attack up in Lanark County. Larry Barber, who's an awesome upholsterer, top builder. A lot of people listening to this probably know him. He just died suddenly of a heart attack. So really, really good friend, probably my best friend and my best man at my wedding. So it sort of took the wind out of my sails. And when my buddy was going back and forth with me, saying this and that, I should have just. At that point, I just sort of went, oh, well, so be it. If you win, you win, whatever, I don't care. So, anyways, he did. So we're going into the tournament, or I'm going to doing my pre-fish on Thursday, and this is on my mind and stuff. And I meet this owner who had seen previous to me I'd seen him the previous week and had given me a couple of bits of advice and said the same thing again. One of the things that he said, I was catching some of my bigger fish out on the weed line. So I went, okay, no problem. Come the tournament, and so I go pre-fishing. He gives me a couple areas to check out, and just at the end, I wing out to the weed line. I take it's a Gambler Mino. It's a really neat version, a version of a spinnerbait type thing, And I go out to the weed line, and I fire this down the weed line. And the first one I pick up was about a 4-pound pike, something like that. I thought it had a good largemouth. And then about 3-4 casts later, I got about a 3-pound largemouth. And I thought, all within about this 40-foot stretch, and I thought, okay, this is good enough. So put the boat on the trailer. Still thinking, we've got a half-decent chance. The day the tournament comes, I'm doing the boat check. And, the Friday night. Yeah, that's what it is, Friday night. One of the other competitors has to pick his boat up. We go back and forth. He's actually fishing another tournament, and he's having somebody sub for him in our club. This is the first place team. So, we bantered back and forth. And I just said, really, I don't really care that much. But, we'll see what happens. I had a good pre-fish, and we'll see what happens. So the day of the tournament, I have to get some paperwork and some money off his substitute, and that ends up being a bit of a drama. I've got enough drama because my wife has to pick the boat up, and she has to come down. Just Kilmarnock is a bit of it's logistically it's a pain in the ass because just to do the weigh-in, one person has to go drop the boat off. The other person has to pull the trailer down to to where we're doing the launch and stuff like that. So just in order to make things easier, about 10 minutes before the end, I winged down to the locks and told a couple of the other boats that I was gonna go up, put the boat in the trailer, and bring it down and do the weigh-in there. So. That's what I did. I whipped up to the launch, put the boat on the trailer, come down. It irritated a few people. They didn't think it was too kosher. In hindsight, I agree with them. So anyways, we got through that drama again. And I got to go back to where we were. I forgot something here. Way. Back it up here. I forgot to talk about the whole tournament. Anyways, the beginning is the drama. So I get through that. I launch all the boats. I'm about to launch all the boats off, and they tell me one of the other boats didn't get their motor started. So I'm going, okay, here's more drama. I'm thinking, I don't need this stuff. So, and I'm trying to clear my head and get these things all straightened out. So, anyways, the first 4 boats that I launch end up going to where I want to go, my first spot. So, okay, fine. My second spot is down there where the boat launch is. So everybody's gone because I'm the tournament director. So I launch everybody. And then my next thing to do is to whip down to the boat launch and get the other boat going so they can go fishing as well too. So I get that down there, and what's happened is a little insect has gone and plugged their telltale, so they've got no water coming out, and the guy's scared that he's going to smoke his motor. So quickly I clean his little telltale out for him, get him going. By the time that happens, which is a couple of minutes, one of the other teams has come up, and he's sitting on the end of the weed line where there's a little knob at the end of this weed line, and it's one of my spots. So, no, I shouldn't say one of my spots. But anyways, it's one of the areas that I've developed. How's that for a better term? So, anyways, and I'm going, cripes. I look across the other side, and there's another boat about 100 yards away from another area that I've developed as well, too. And I go, great. I'm thinking to myself, that's saying no good deed goes unpunished. So, I think to myself, what the hell? Let's just go fishing. I start on the deep weed edge, and I love the flip a jig. That's what I'm all about. I love the 29 minutes. I talked about everything. I'm just starting to get in the tournament here. This is great. This is going to be an hour probably. So I hope you get enough time. Sit back, go get yourself a drink, and they should have a commercial break here. Commercial break. MLS custom rods. Best custom rods you'll ever buy. Norfolk composite blanks. Awesome blanks. I can't say enough about them. you combine the best blanks with the really good rod builder, and your fishing experience goes up appreciably. So that's my commercial. Anyways, just getting back to where I was. We're starting on the weed line. I gave my wife a Senko. She's got a North Fork composite spinning rod that I made for her, an SJ. No, what do they call that thing? Just give me a sec here. That is a. Here we go. This is a really beautiful rod. I give her this so she can go throw Senkos into thick weeds. An SJ705. It's a 7-foot, made out of IM. Beautiful rod. Very light. Titanium guides. And so that's what she uses. I'm flipping 3/4 ounce Ninja jig with a Yamamoto trailer. Or I'm flipping a 3/4 ounce Picasso spider jig, usually pumpkin, with a Gambler twin tail trailer on that as well. So, or I'm throwing a Big Easy, Gambler Big Easy in white, or I'm throwing spinnerbaits on again a Picasso spinnerbait. These are all on custom built rods. So anyways, I'm throwing the Big Easy, but I'm alternating between throwing the Big Easy and throwing the Ninja jig. First thing in the morning, I like to use the dark jig just to get the contrast. As the day warms up, I like to start to get back to a natural color, because the sun gets up, they get better light penetration. I think they can see it a bit better, so I like to. That's what I like to do. Just switch it up. It depends on the body water. Usually Big Rita, I'll stay with a black jig all day long. But Mississippi, Kilmarnock, places like that, they're a bit shallower. Then I'll stay with. I'll use that. Mississippi, sometimes I'll just go green pumpkin all the time. But anyways, so we're going down the weed line. We're getting towards where the other boat is, and they pretty much just sat on the spot, sat on the nub, didn't move. And we don't get anything going down. I usually get a couple of fish going down this weed line, and so we don't get anything. So I thought, well, we'll go back up and we'll go in shallower, because there's a bunch of docks, and at least at that point I get a shot at the docks and stuff. So I went back up shallower. Didn't see any bait fish or anything shallow, or any little minnows or anything like that. So I thought, okay, well, my next spot is across the river, and basically I did the same thing across the river. Before we're getting, I got a little smallmouth spot, nothing. So the next spot, like I say, is across the river. But prior to us going across the river, the other team that was close to my other area that I developed, he had caught a pike prior to that, and I just noticed whereabouts he was. And mental note about it on where he was with relationship to the shoreline, and then we basically leapfrogged over him about 100 yards down and went in shallow to where I rolled a couple of fish with the prior days and stuff, and then my wife starts to, I got one, and she's not throwing the Senko, so I got another one. I got another one. And boom, boom, boom. Within, maybe about an hour, we had 3 fish in the live well. Nothing huge, but, we were starting to build on it. And then I thought, well, if the other team had moved off, so I said, let's move up, because I wanted to do the docks adjacent to where he was. So I started flipping the docks, and she's on the outside flipping the deeper. So I'm flipping, in 0 to a foot, or 2 foot to 0 feet of water, and she's doing 3 to about 6 foot of water. And I nail a few real tight up to the docks. We change. Well, I don't change. Yeah, it's just chop. Anyway, we get some bigger fish. And so by about 10 o'clock, 10:30, we've got about 8.5 pounds in the live well, and I'm thinking 8.5 pounds of live well is not going to do it. These fish got to be someplace, and I didn't see anybody. Usually I see some guys fishing out closer to the channel edge and stuff like that. I didn't see anything like that. the team that was in first place there, he came by and he was fishing right tight to the reeds, which I knew that's where he was fishing, just because some of the, these guys, they post these pictures and they go, yeah, nobody will figure this one out. You could tell where they were fishing, so I knew basically where he was fishing. I knew what depth he was fishing at and stuff like that, but it didn't matter because that's not what my pattern was. So about 10:30, I'm thinking to myself, I'm not really into this, but and then there's, I don't know whether it's cosmic or whatever, these thoughts of my best man and Larry and the funeral and everything like that came through to my head, and I thought, I did a big sigh, and I'm thinking, the wife really wants to win this, so I thought, what the hell? If I don't do it for me, I don't do it for the wife, I'll do it for Larry. Actually, I don't do it for me, I'll do it for my wife and Larry. So anyways, I sort of, regrouped and thought, well, we've tried them up shallow, we've tried them in 3 to 6 foot of water, 8 foot of water, let's go out from 8 to 12 foot of water. So, and this is, like I say, what I started first thing in the morning, but didn't get anything. So I didn't have too much confidence in it, but I said, I'll give it an hour anyways. So I start, on this edge, and I'm going upriver, I guess it is, and flipping along, like I say, and I'm alternating between the pumpkin jig and I was pretty much throwing the 3/4 ounce black jig, because that's pretty much what I do when I start to what they consider power fish. Anyways, I just consider it, pretty much moving the boat 20 feet, flipping it out 20 feet, moving the boat 20 feet, flipping it out 20 feet, moving the boat 20 feet, flipping it. Basically, that's all you're doing. And with a little bit of wind, it's perfect. You love to do that, and I could do that all day long. So I started doing that, and we get up the weed line about a half an hour, and boom, I nail my first fish. And it's a good fish. And by good fish, I mean it's 3 pounds. Easily, you can look at this fish and go, this thing is easily 3 pounds. 299, say, okay? But anyway, so that one goes in the live well. Turn the boat around, or we go up about another 200 yards, turn the boat around. I start coming back down again, and as soon as the fish hit, now basically you throw the jig out, it hits the bottom, jiggle a little bit, nothing bites it, reel it in, and keep going. So that's basically all I was doing, and I knew that this thing hit. It didn't hit in the fall, but it hit not far off that. It hit on the first jiggle take, basically. So I knew these guys were a bit active, and if I could find where they were, I might be able to do okay on them. So started going up the weed line. Don't get nothing for, like I say, 200 yards. Turn around and start coming back again. I'm getting up to the waypoint that I marked for the first fish, and boom, nail another one. And cool, okay, this is starting to work now. And this guy again, good fish, 3 pounds. Put it in a live well. Go back down again, about another 300 yards. Don't get nothing. Turn around and coming back up again. And I think I was having a piece of I was having a piece of banana bread, and I flipped it out. Just stuck a piece of banana bread in my mouth, and I watched the line go tick. Okay. Oh no, that's what I done. Sorry, gotta go back here. On the way back up again, I switched from the Ninja jig because I'd already gone up and gone back once with the black Ninja jig. I switched from the Ninja jig and I went to the 3/4 ounce spider jig. So I wasn't on my North Fork composite. I was on my Lamb Glass flipping stick at that point, and so I'm going back up again. And like I said, banana bread in my mouth. Flip the jig out. It's going down. I felt the tick and set the hook. And boom, and this is a half decent fish again. And then the phone rings. So I forget who it was. So I'm talking to, so basically I just spit the banana bread out. My wife's got the phone up to my ear, and I'm going, hang on, before, so We got this fish in the boat. My wife looks at it and says, "That's a big fish." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, it's bigger than all. I guess it's bigger than all the rest of them." So we take she takes 3 quick pictures of it. In hindsight, that was really smart of her. So we throw it in the live well, and go back up and down the weed line a couple more times, or at least one or two more times. Don't get anything. It's 2:30. I'm going. We're gonna go after the other side of the river, and try that for another hour, and then we're gonna wing down to the locks, and I'm gonna try a couple of trees where I got a big fish the year before, and see if we can end the day out there. So we go to the other side of the river, the weed line where I originally started on, which I thought was going to produce some good fish. And we start down that weed line, and I'm out pitching deep. My wife's throwing a Senko into about 8 to 6 foot of water. About 8 to 6 foot of water. We're going along, and I'm thinking, we're going to get up to that spot, and hopefully I'm going to get one. And all of a sudden I heard her say, "Oh, I got one." Now, where we're fishing is we haven't started a big motor, so I didn't have to drop any fish or anything like that. So as soon, and I had all the first fish in the morning on one side and all the bigger fish on the other side. So as soon as she pulls that fish in, as soon as I net that fish, I'm going, well, there's another 3-pounder. So I just, at that point, dumped all the other fish off the other side. And I said, okay, we're going to finish this weed line, and then we're going to see when we're going to whip down, because we still have about 15 minutes to go. We're going to whip down to locks and see if I can find a bigger fish, and see if that'll work. And that bigger fish would be up shallow in the trees type thing. So we go, whip down to the locks. Don't get anything on the end of the weed line. Whip down to the locks. And I looked to see where I caught my big fish the year before, and there was no water there. And at that point, it just told me what happened between the year before and that year, the year before and that year was, with the water drop in that foot, it pushed everything out to not just the mid-depths, but usually what they are is they're shallow in the mid-depths. And what's happened, I guess, is it's pushed them from the mid-depths. The shallow has pushed them into the mid-depths, and now being shallow, they've pushed from the mid-depths out to the bigger ones have moved out to the channel edge. Anyways, so wing the boat on the trailer, do the weigh-in. I asked some of the other guys how they did, specifically the guys that were in first, second, and third. I said to them, "How'd you do?" And it was pretty consistent. Everybody that fished shallow did 8 to 9 pounds. Everybody that went deeper or went to the weed edge did 10 to 11 pounds. So, and you can look at the stats and you can see exactly how it went down. I'm still not sure because, like I said, we had to get 2.5 pounds on everybody, and I'm doing the math in my head, knowing these guys are a pound out and these guys are a pound and a half out, and what they got, and I said, well, I'm not even going to worry about it until Adam does the figuring out afterwards, and I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, nah, probably not. I thought Jake Western and Chris Gates were the guys that were going to win it, because they had, and they should. You know what? If they had got one more fish that year, they would have won it, because they would have won it by 3 pounds at least, anyways, because they came in one tournament without a limit. And if they had come in, and that was on the Ottawa River, they had big fish in the Ottawa River, so a 5-pounder. Caught it just after we got by them too. So that's the second time they've done that, or the Westerns have done that. Anyways, so it comes down to, like I say, let's see what happens when the fat lady sings, and we ended up with enough weight to win Team of the Year. And not only that, the real interesting fact about what happened that day was, and I didn't realize this until later on, and the picture of the big fish. The big fish ended up, we had 12.77, so the big fish ended up being a 3.77. So we had an average of 3 pounds, and then that 3.77. That 3.77 ended up, or could be potentially, a hybrid fish, a hybrid bass. That being a cross between a smallmouth and a largemouth bass, thinking that it's going to be a male largemouth with a female smallmouth. Now, it's not 100% certain until they get the DNA, but the biologist I spoke to at the ministry, who's been in contact with a biologist in the States. He sent the picture to a biologist in the States, and this guy is 90% certain, but he won't know until he gets DNA from this fish, but it's a cross between a smallmouth and a largemouth. If you can take a look at this picture, it's the picture actually I have on Lander County Confidential. It's the picture, that's the fish that I'm holding it. You take a look at that fish, it's a largemouth. Characteristics, big mouth. It has the large mouth, but it's a bit smaller than a normal largemouth. The other thing about it, remember, this is the fish that hit the jig on the fall. The other thing about it is the top of the coloring is off. If you take a look at the fish, the coloring just doesn't look right. Where is it? I think it's on WFN. No, maybe not. Or it's on, I'm going to post it, and you'll be able to see the pictures of my wife and I holding our limit, and then you can take a look at all three. You can take a look at 4 fish, and you can say, oh, okay, that one. I'm not sure it's on Facebook, but I'll post it soon. Anyways, it will be on the website. Lanark County Confidential is going to get a website soon. So, well, it has one, but it's just in the process of being done. So anyways, this fish that's hybrid, you can clearly see that there's something different about it. So when and the other thing again, like I said, when it hit the jig. All the largemouth that I caught on that weed line hit the jig on the bottom, and the smallmouth was the only one that hit it on the fall. The other thing is, when you look at the picture of the hybrid, it's got its dorsal fin up. Typically, that's something that I've ever seen spots and smallmouth do when you take a picture of them or you hold them like that. Typically, they're up. Largemouth usually are folded down and stuff like that. So that's sort of what sent me to think there's something wrong with this fish picture, and I sent it to my friend at the M&R, and a few months later he come back to me and said, yeah, there's something different about that fish, and the difference is it's 1 in a million. It's because of the fact that potentially, and it's a 3.77, so that's an old fish. It's probably a 10, 12-year-old fish. So but I'll tell you, in our club, I'm probably the only team that's caught smallmouth in that whole section. 2 years ago, in the one that I came second in, I caught a 2.99. I caught just under a 3-pound smallmouth. So there's smallmouth in there, and it's a short section of water. They can roam back and forth freely and easily. So, and they're a bit more aggressive. So it may end up at some point in time, they may end up moving the largemouth, probably into the weeds more than on the weed lines. We'll see what happens, but I'm not sure. We'll see. But it just showed me that this deep versus shallow bite pattern, whatever, it not only can happen both, but it can happen at the same time. I've been in tournaments where guys have done very well shallow, and other guys have gone out and deep. So you can. It's not necessarily an issue, but what it is learning to fish deep is a tool. It's another skill that I had to learn in order to become a better angler, better tournament fisherman anyways. But in the long run, a better angler, because now when I do, when I'm fishing a body of water and I don't find anything shallow, then I can go deep. I know I have the skills. I know how to read my graph properly. I know what to look for out deeper, so I can do something like that. And then in turn, I can impart that onto other people as well too, because I've taken a few people out for that specific reason. They've said to me, like, I want to learn how to fish a deep weed line, and that's exactly what I told Ernie that day. Is I want to learn how to fish a deep weed line, and he said, okay, that's what we're going to do, and that's what we did. There's a couple of docks. You want to fish? I'll get into that story later, but so is there an issue shallow deep? For me, no. I don't have an issue fishing shallow. I don't have an issue fishing deep. That reason is because I've developed my ability to fish deep. I think the issue with the guys that have this, there's a problem. It's the guys that fish shallow. They're bank beaters. They do become somewhat successful, and they will win tournaments, and they will do well on weekends when there's a good shallow bite, and then there's a body of water that is a good body of water for shallow water fishermen and stuff like that. But take that person and then put them on a body of water where instead of 0 to 3 is shallow, 0 to 10 is shallow, and they're going to struggle. That's just the nature of the beast. So recognizing that is something that is going to make you a better angler, because if you can recognize your weaknesses and work on those, you can become a better angler. It's like I never threw a spinnerbait, so for a full year I just threw a spinnerbait. Then the next year after that, I basically threw a tube the whole year. Maybe for about 3 years I threw a tube. Became very proficient on a spinnerbait and a tube, and then I took up a flipping stick because I saw these guys pitching and flipping and could see how accurate you could get doing that. So boom, I went for the next 5-6 years pitching and flipping. Got very proficient doing that, and then I decided it's jerkbait time, and that's sort of what I started doing the last few years is jerkbaits and crankbaits. And I'm going to see, and then I've also combined that with the drop shot as well too. So you need, it's like an artist. You need the full palette to be able to get the full picture. Some anglers can only create, they can create a picture, but it doesn't have any depth to it. What I'm saying is, to create the full picture, you need to show the depth to the picture as well too, and that comes from being able to not just to fish shallow, but to fish mid depth, and to be able to fish deep. Be able to fish deep, you need a certain skill set to do that, and you can only get that from learning how to fish deep. So like I said, getting to my point, is there an issue to me? No, there's no issue here. I will fish shallow. I'll fish deep when I need to, and that's something I just learned. And that's something that every angler should learn, because, like I say, it's going to make you better. So it comes down to, and you have to have a certain number of things to do that. You have to have the rods, the equipment to do it. You need the electronics and stuff, and if you don't, well, then you're just gonna, then you stay with the guys that beat the banks. And like I said, I did it for 3 years. We made money. We made our money back every year. So were we successful at that point? Yeah. Were we winning? No, we weren't winning. Why? I think is because a lot of the other guys were fishing shallow as well too. And it wasn't, you had to find the big pot of fish shallow, or you couldn't just do it. I mean, I remember 40 boats going into the back of Lochaber and slugging it out all day long with everybody else there. So, it's a hard thing to do, but as opposed to finding, a hump someplace and being able to pick 10 fish off that hump in an hour and a half or a couple hours or something like that. That's what I'm and having that all to yourself, and that's basically what I'm alluding to with the deep bite. Now, it doesn't always work. Like I say, beginning of the season, I basically learned, and on some bodies of water, I basically, it's like muskrat. If I'm going to go, well, actually not muskrat these days, but muskrat before they drop the water and stuff like that. Muskrat before they drop the water, if you tried to find largemouth shallow, unless it was the fall time, forget it. You'd have to fish them shallow. If you want to fish, if you want to fish the largemouth, you had to fish them shallow. You couldn't fish them deep until the fall time. That's just the way it is. Mississippi, it's the same thing. You fish docks and you fish shallow water until fall time, and then maybe you might fish them a bit deeper. But that body of water, you have to fish them shallower. So Rideau River, same sort of thing. You got to fish the fish are going to be shallow and they're going to be on docks, because that's basically the way the body of water is. So for some bodies of water, and if you always fish those bodies of water, then you'll always be a shallow water fisherman. You'll just never get ever into any thing deeper. And if that's what you want to do, hey, that's fine. That's what you want to do. But when those tournaments end up being in, deeper bodies of water, and you have a hard time struggling, then at least, at this point you'll know why that's happening. So, it was to me, I was very fortunate to learn how to fish deep. And that's why at times I like to pass it on to other people. So if you ever, wanting to go fish a deep weed line someday, drop me an email at info@lanarkcountyconfidential.ca. I'll definitely take you out. You can use some custom fishing rods. We'll throw some jigs. We'll, spend a good day out there. It's fun. It's there's nothing better than popping my biggest last summer I got just under a 5.7 on Big Rideau. I was guiding for PBS. I do a guide for PBS every year, and these guys came up from the States. They were basically just specifically looking for big fish. I put them into an area where I knew potentially there was a good fish anyways. I didn't know it was that good, but gave him a shot at it and gave him some jigs and throw him, just throw them in the weeds and let them go at it for 20 minutes or half an hour. And a couple of them, one guy caught, he caught one just under 2.5 pounds, I guess. And, but his father really wanted to catch one. But yeah, it's throwing a jig and fishing a jig is something you sort of just you have to learn a certain amount of patience. Reason being is because it's not like a topwater. You got to watch your line. You got to pay attention and stuff like that. So, and his father he wasn't. I ended up giving him a crankbait later on. He loved throwing the crankbait, so he did much better. It was mostly bluegills and rock bass, but anyways. So we're in this one little section, this one little bay, and so I'd let them have a go at it, and I knew that there was a half decent fish in there. I hadn't caught it, but he'd hit me a couple of times. And so I tossed my jig in this one area, and I've got this marked on my GPS. So I tossed it into one area and nothing. Tossed it in again, nothing. Tossed it in. I thought what I felt like was a thump, and I thought, okay, well, we'll come back to it. So I just backed off to it, went away from it for about 10 minutes, came back to it, and tossed it in again, and bam, it nailed it. It was a 5.7, and it just. Man, it was on my North Fork flip 769, and awesome rod, awesome fish. So, but that's catching the fish, and this is in about 15 feet of water. So it's pretty cool to watch the line. Feel the jig go all the way down, hit the bottom, jig, and then feel the thump and set the hook and almost not be able to pick anything up because, you got a 5-pound fish plus all the weeds and everything like that. So that's pretty cool. That's why I like jig fishing, and that's why I like to fish deep. But anyways, I think that's about it on my little fishing shallow and deep. Like I said, doesn't matter the amount to me. If I fish shallow, I fish deep. I don't care. It's wherever the fish are. That's basically what I do. So to me, it's not an issue. To me, it's a skill, and I'll pass it on to anybody who's interested. So I appreciate listening today. I was a bit long-winded. We got into an hour or so. But that's how passionate I am about jig fishing. And if anybody wants to learn it, like I say, I'm willing to pass it on to them, because it's something that was passed on to me pretty freely. So, if you want to, like I say, drop me a line, info at well, actually, you can do it at info@mlsser.ca or info@lanarkcountyconfidential.ca. So, appreciate you listening this week for this episode. Listen in next week. I got some tournament tips next week, and plus a whole bunch more. We're coming to you on WRVO Radio Network, a division of Reno Viola. Appreciate you listening this week, and hope you come back next week too. Thanks a lot.